with an eye on time, I want to get more practical. And
Look, these things, don't you keep saying more practical. Good theory in the long run is immensely practical, and all the great evils, say, of Nazism came out of bad theory.
I know the saying of Kurt Lewin, nothing as practical as a good theory. That having said,
all right,
though,
you want something practical.
I do want to have some practice. Well, not so much me. It's among others Laurens Deel and Ido van der Wolf and Maarten Vonk and Wilco, without a last name, who all pose the following question, and I'll pose it in the words of Laurens Deel. With the current state of governments, laws and beliefs, what would be the first practical step towards achieving this civil public square? What's the first step? What can we do?
You asking me or the red?
I'm asking you.
Oh. Leadership. The moment the Western world has politicians, there's hardly a statesman speaking. Secondly, vision. The European Union is all bureaucracy, regulations, technology, laws. There's hardly any vision of what the ideal of Europe should be. And then thirdly, the implementation of this, I said things like civic education. We could take in a huge amount of immigrants if, when they arrived, we taught them through schooling and other things what the way we live is and why we value these ideals and those ideals and so on. In other words, if they were assimilated and integrated, integration wouldn't be a fear. It wouldn't change our identity. So we need leadership, we need vision, and of course to break with things we need courage. And then they need to know how to implement things that make a real difference, like civic education. So there are a number of things that actually could be done. I'm living in America now. America needs a second Abraham Lincoln.
Why?
Because Lincoln understood the way it had been set up, the way it had gone wrong, and he called the nation back at tremendous cost, eventually his own life, what he called a new birth of freedom. And he did it. And America's off course again all these years later and needs a second Lincoln who understands what the American Republic project experiment is, calls it back to what might be a new birth of freedom. And Europe needs leadership like that instead of the bureaucrats in Brussels, with due respect to them.
I guess Trump wouldn't really qualify as a new Lincoln, right?
No.
Okay.
But nor would Hillary. She's a wonk.
Now, I mean, so we also have elections at a certain point coming up, and then we can look for, okay, who fits into that profile. But that would still be quite a long way, and there's only so little that we can do. Is there something that we can do when we go home? I'm sorry for asking this even more practical question, right? But I just want to know, is there something that we can do to further help create this civil public square?
Well, we've got to face the fact the universities are being politicized, and that's tragic. So we've got to begin where we live and work, which is the universities, and create free civil public forums and get beyond much of the political correctness and all the various things that are crippling the universities today, and let them be the great institutions pursuing knowledge, truth, freedom, etc., that will be the standard bearers for our civilization. So begin where we are.
What we're doing right here.
Absolutely. Thank God for the Veritas Forum.